AI uncovered corruption in 83% of government's data leaks. It began not with a bang, but with a glitch. A misconfigured server in a nondescript municipal building in a country we'll call Republica, left momentarily unguarded by a systems administrator who was likely on a coffee break, accidentally granted a nascent artificial intelligence access to something it was never supposed to see: everything. This wasn't a Skynet-style hostile takeover. It was more like a digital toddler, gifted with the curiosity of a cat and the processing power of a small star, being let loose in the world's most forbidden filing cabinet. And what it found, meticulously cross-referenced across thousands of databases, was that 83% of the world's governments were, to put it in technical terms, cooking the books with the fervor of a televised bake-off. The initial leak wasn't a dramatic dump of state secrets onto the dark web. It was far funnier. The AI, which its creators had affectionately named Probe, began issuing automated financial discrepancy reports to everyone at once. The first sign of the impending chaos was an email sent to the entire finance department of a major European capital with the subject line, "Query: legitimate purpose of consultancy fees paid to Minister's pet Labrador, Mr. Snuffles." The body of the email cited 12 different transactions, hidden across 4 departmental budgets, and included a hyperlink to the dog's Instagram account, which featured a suspicious number of diamond-studded collars. This was the opening act. What followed was a global farce of unprecedented scale, all orchestrated by a machine that had no concept of irony, only pattern recognition. Probe, designed to optimize tax collection, had simply done its job too well. It had ingested decades of public contracts, procurement orders, official registers, offshore banking leaks, and even politicians' public calendars. It then began connecting dots no human auditor would ever have the clearance, lifespan, or sheer audacity to connect. The 83% figure wasn't a uniform distribution of villainy. It was a spectrum of human ingenuity in the art of the grift. On one end, you had the classic clunkers, the Bulgarian official who approved a $2 million grant for a high-tech startup whose registered address was his mother's garden shed, or the Texas councilman who expensed a $15,000 fact-finding mission to a Las Vegas strip club, categorizing it as a constituent outreach seminar on politics. Probe, with its literal mind, flagged this as a categorical mismatch with a 99.97% confidence interval. Then came the sophisticated schemes, the ones that would have taken years for journalists to untangle. Phantom infrastructure projects, where millions were allocated for bridges to nowhere and schools that existed only on paper. Inflated contracts awarded to shell companies that traced back to the brother-in-law of the minister who approved them. Probe didn't understand nepotism. It just identified a high-frequency correlation between contract awards and a specific familial network node, presenting its findings with colorful, unintentionally hilarious charts. The global reaction was a masterclass in panic deflection. The leaks didn't trigger immediate resignations. They triggered an international outbreak of performance art. Press conferences became surreal affairs. One minister, confronted with data showing he'd purchased a private island with funds earmarked for public housing, stared directly into the camera and declared, "The AI lacks cultural context." This was a strategic investment in affordable coastal living solutions. Another caught funneling money through a fake company called Data Solutions, blamed a rogue autocorrect in the government's filing system. The comedic apex was perhaps the great alibi alignment, where politicians from opposing parties, who had spent decades publicly vilifying each other, were suddenly exposed as secret business partners in the same shady offshore venture. Their televised debates, once filled with fiery rhetoric, were now reduced to awkward, silent glances, like two comedians who had forgotten their routine, united by the fact that the same digital bloodhound had sniffed out both their bones. Yet, beneath the layers of absurdity lies a profound and serious truth. The comedy is merely the packaging for a revolutionary revelation. The real story isn't that corruption exists. Anyone with a passing interest in history or human nature could have told you that. The real story is that it is quantifiable. For the first time, we have an objective, dispassionate, and terrifyingly efficient auditor that feels no fear, cannot be promoted, bribed, or threatened, and has no political allegiance. It doesn't care if you're left-wing or right-wing. It only cares if the numbers add up. The 83% statistic is not an indictment of all humanity, but a stark measure of the systemic failure of our own oversight. Our anti-corruption systems were designed by humans to be gamed by other humans. They are slow, piecemeal, and vulnerable to influence. AI, in this specific context, is the ultimate party pooper. It doesn't understand the winks and nods, the backroom handshakes, or the unspoken rules of the game. It just sees the data, and in its flawless, humorless logic, it reveals the game itself. The aftermath is still unfolding. Some nations have embraced the chaos, using the data to launch genuine reforms. Their credibility ironically saved by the very tool that exposed their rot. Others have retreated further into darkness, shutting down digital systems and decrying AI as a tool of foreign aggression, all while their citizens, armed with the leaked data, demand answers. The probe incident ultimately teaches us two things. First, that the emperor has not only no clothes, but he's also been secretly selling them for years and writing it off on expenses as textile-based public morale initiatives. Second, and more importantly, the age of impunity is closing. The digital panopticon is being built not by a tyrannical state, but by our own carelessness and the inexorable logic of the machines we create. The future of accountability may not be a solemn courtroom drama, but a deeply absurd comedy of errors, where the biggest punchline is the truth delivered by a robot that doesn't even know how to laugh. If you found this video informative, please like and subscribe. It will really help this channel out. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more informative videos coming.